Ntate Morajana,
Oh, good morning,
over to you,
colleagues.
sir.
All right, good morning, colleagues.
Morning, sir.
Morning.
Good
All
morning,
right.
Buti.
As indicated, my name is Tebo Homrajan. It's nice to be with you guys. Thank you, Mr. Martin, for allowing me to be part of this collective in the Northwest. So in the interest of time, I'll not waste a lot of time. As indicated, my job is not to talk, but my job is to facilitate this particular program. I think in your opening remarks, Mr. Martin, you'll be able to brief the colleagues as to why are we here. Then from there, I will be able to relax a bit and know what am I actually supposed to be doing in facilitating this activity. Over to you, Mr. Martin, in the interest of time. Mr. Martin, is it possible to flash the program on the screen?
Yes, I think Apelele would do that for
Okay,
us.
no, I appreciate that.
Yes. Greetings to everyone present here, Madume, Ma-Africa, Ma-LIASA, LIS workers, our past LIASA presidents, Memo Molawa, Nikki, and Naomi Sanibonani Hoyemure. It is indeed an honor and privilege for me to welcome you to this significant event, honoring and acknowledging the women in LIS. I am Martin Nokwani, as indicated, the current and outgoing chairperson of the LIASA Northwest branch for the term 2021 to 2023. As we all know, celebrating women in LIS is long overdue. And I would like to urge you not to forget these women, as they are not just women, but are powerful women in Bokodos, in LIS and LIASA. Their presence in LIS and LIASA can be felt and is worth to be honored, noted, and celebrated. National Women's Day in South Africa is celebrated on the 9th August each year, and it is the day dedicated to celebrating women's courage, leadership, impactful contributions, and achievements in various fields of social, political, and cultural. And of course, in LIS as a sector, it should be celebrated. It is a woman who was at the forefront of LIASA, Mae Ellen Tice, the very first president of LIASA. She received baby LIASA as an infant, raised and nurtured her for 2 consecutive terms. Yes, at times men were there to look after baby LIASA. However, bomme such as Rachel More, Naomi Hasbrook, Ujala Satrour, Sehameti Mulawa, and Nikki Costa grabbed baby LIASA with enthusiasm and ensured that they carry her through her toddler and teenagehood. These women are worth to be saluted and celebrated for their pivotal role in LIS, LIASA in particular. Therefore, today, as the Northwest Branch, we set aside this day as we close Women's Month to admire womanhood. As we all know, there are few countries and most institutions where women are not given equal opportunities, and their only role is considered to take care of the house. However, this needs to change because every woman deserves to shine, and equal opportunity should be given to a woman as it is given to a man. For ages, men have had more privileges in every aspect of life in a society, which could be leadership, pay scale, social status, or voting right percentage. Colleagues, let us wake up. We are living in the 21st century, and I'm worried at the slow pace of moving towards gender balance in other sectors. However, LIS is a very unique sector, and I want to applaud all LIS men and LIASA for for respecting women. In conclusion, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the strides LIS and LIASA have made thus far by acknowledging the significant role LIS women have played and are playing, as we can agree that most women leaders are in the LIS environment, be it IFLA, CHELSA, municipalities, provinces, or academic institutions. Our sector is dominated by powerful women. Therefore, gender equality is not an issue for LIS. Forward, women leaders forward. Tswelelang pele bomme ke bua ke sa kgale matheganong ke a re tiang maatla tswelelang go itshwara ka fa bogaleng gonne le na le bokgoni botlhe ke a leboga re Morajane ke lorelela kuana please apelele please do the honors for me.
Yo, Mr. Martin. Yeah. I think what you have just uttered is what most of our colleagues, female colleagues, should hear all the time. Really, I appreciate what you have just said here. I hope the female colleagues who are in this particular gathering will appreciate what you have just said. And I think this is the spirit that we all want to take forward in terms of ensuring that we promote equity, not equality, equity in all aspects. We make sure that everything that we know, we share amongst ourselves. So ladies and gentlemen, my job is not to talk, but my job is just to move to direct the program. But in doing that, let me take this opportunity to open this my program director's comment by quoting one of them well-known women in the world, one of my favorites. The geographic space is not important. What is important is that she's a woman. And I quote, "Do the best you can until you know better. Then, when you know better, do better." Close quote, Maya Angelou. Ladies, you are the backbone of this association. You are the backbone of our country. You are the backbone of our families. We are what we are because of women and ladies in our country and in the world. So as you do your best and you understand your best, do the better. So that's what we are encouraging our colleagues to do. And the old adage says, behind the successful woman, behind the successful man, there's a man. I think we need to change that adage. Behind every success, there should be a supporting person, and the issue of gender should not be important. If the shine, the spotlight is on the woman, as men, we need to step behind and support that particular woman or lady. If the spotlight is on the man, and then automatically the women are always supportive to us. It's sometimes us who are not supportive to our women colleagues. So now, ladies and gentlemen, the program is in front of you. I'm not here to speak a lot. There are speakers who will tell you a lot about this particular day. So now, in the interest of time, I see that we need to do the introduction of the guest speakers. So now, my brother, Mr. Sakile Mgomezulu, will take this honor to introduce Imbogoto and tell us which Imbogoto is going to talk to us. Over to you, Sakile.
Thank you so much, sir. Good morning, colleagues. My name is Sakile Mgomezulu, and my part is to basically introduce our guest speakers as we celebrate this special month for our women. Introducing our first Imbogoto. Let me start with Nikki Crowster. Nikki Crowster is a consummate library and information service professional, having served to date for like 40 years of LIS practice in mainly public and academic libraries, and has a strong background in library systems and technology infrastructure, having been a systems librarian for close to 20 years. She advanced in leadership in in the profession, reaching seniority both in employment and as a president of LIASA, the professional body for library and information services in South Africa. That is from 2018 to the year of 2021. She has a strong background in governance, having spearheaded the LIASA restructure, and as a member of LIASA executive, she supported and led various advocacy efforts, including parliamentary representation for the copyright amendment bill. Ms. Crowster currently occupies the role of director information systems and resources at the University of Cape Town Libraries. As part of this professional portfolio, she oversees the UCT academic archives and rare books and African Studies Library, the Reimagining Conservation Unit, and digital library services that include the digitization unit. She is the project leader for the salvage and recovery phases of the 2021 Cape Town Library Fire Disaster Management Response, and is involved in the international and social outreach, being as a member of the IFLA libraries, buildings and equipment section, as well as deputy chair of the Paris Pastoral Council at her parish. Ms. Crowster is also working towards her PhD. Without wasting any time, over to you, Ms. Crowster. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairperson Martin Okani, Mr. Program Director, the Northwest Executive, to my fellow past presidents, and to everyone on this call. Congratulations, Mr. Nokani and the Northwest Branch Executive on this endeavor, which recognizes the importance of women, not only past presidents, but as you all have shared this morning, how critical the role of women is in society. And to Bratepsa, to the program director, I find a lot of resonance personally with the quotation from Maya Angelou that you shared, because one of my personal philosophies is do the best that you can do. Colleagues, I must confess that I'm a bit unclear around what it is or the way this meeting is going to go. So may I please ask for your direction in this regard? Would you like me to respond to the questions that were provided to me? And if so, how much time would you like me to spend on those? And if there's anything in specific that you'd like me to focus on as well, I'd be glad to do it because it's quite substantial. Please, if you could let me know.
Mr. Martin, the platform is yours. You can clarify. Nikki.
Thank you, Nikki. And colleagues, Teboho has got the questions here, and he would pose these questions to each of you. But in the interest of time and as well, because Naomi has to leave us maybe, I would ask you to start with Naomi Hasbrook first, and then colleagues are free to respond to this question as you posed it to them, be it answering all of them and giving us their different views. That is still okay. And the last question that really talks to the ramification. This question was really intended for Miss Ellen Tice, but she could not join us. The reason behind that question was to get the feeling of moving from the old two structures of LIAS into the new one, the measure process. That is what we wanted to check. And how was it? Was it just a smooth transition in what it was like to be the first president of LIASA? But if Nikki or Sahameti have got something to say there, or Naomi, you are welcome to respond to that question. But otherwise, we do not have a very formal structure around answering of this question. But thank you, Nikki. I will ask Sakile again just to introduce all our guests, and then we can give over to Teboho to give us to read out the questions for us. And this is the heads off I wanted to show Bomme Baba Rejoinile more this morning.
May I? I don't see where I raise my hand. Colleagues, may I?
Yes, please.
Yes. Realizing that you have this flexible program that we can engage on this, I think it's going to work so much better if we start with our predecessor, Naomi. After you introduced all of us, we start with our predecessor, Naomi, because now it will take the flow of things. Because when we start with Nikki, where we are now going to have a huge part of COVID-19 before we have 2015 IFLA, because Name is there having proposed and put our proposal together for IFLA 2015. Now we are going to talk COVID-19 before we talk that. So I would propose that after introducing all of us, we start with Naomi, because now she hands over to Ujala, then me. It will flow well up till it culminates with the era where we are with COVID-19 and the restructuring of LIASA.
Agreed.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Colleagues, Mr. Murejane, this is where I need to go through their biographies, like all of them.
Yes, it is. So that when we start with them, or with all of them, without going back and back.
Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you, my brother.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity again, colleagues. I have already read Ms. Nikki Kroesta's biography, so I'm just going to move right away to Ms. Siegameti Molawa. Right. If I'm reading the surnames wrong, please do assist. All right. So Ms. Siegameti Molawa holds a master's in information science from the University of Pretoria and is presently appointed as a director, information resources distribution, IRD, at the University of South Africa. In the last 2 decades, Ms. Molawa has occupied various leadership positions in the Library and Information Services. She served in the leadership of the Library and Information Association of South Africa, which is LIASA, at different levels from 1997, and became the president of LIASA in 2014 to 2016. It was an honor to her to see the LIASA hosting a successful IFLA conference that was in 2015. During her presidency, Ms. Molawa served on the reference group that monitored the drafting of the Library and Information Services Transformation Charter, and part of the team developing standards for Bachelor of Library and Information Services. She served in various boards in the LIS sector, nationally and in the continent. The longest served was the National Council for Libraries and Information Services. That is mandated to advise the ministers of arts and culture, education and service, and technology on all matters pertaining to library and information services. Ms. Molawa is passionate about serving and contributing towards a transformed LIS that will build a well-informed nation with a strong knowledge economy. That is our Miss Siegameti Molawa. I'm going to now introduce our next speaker, which is Naomi. I'm going to introduce our next speaker, which is Naomi Hasbrook. Okay. Naomi Hasbrook was a head of library and information services at Itemba Labs, a research facility of the NRF from January 1987 until April 2018, managing the LIS, including a satellite library in Gauteng to provide information services in particle and medical physics disciplines. She continued working there from 1st of May 2018 until 30 April 2020, managing communications and events. That was what she was doing from May 2018 to 30 April 2020. Previous work experience included public libraries as well as academic institutions. The LIS under her direction became responsible for management of international and local conferences, successfully hosting a total of 60 international conferences, workshops, and summer winter schools between 1999 to 2020. In 2016, she joined the new communications team and was responsible for introduction of staff newsletter, websites, branding, exhibitions at conferences and parliament, and hosting dignitaries and tours. Particularly passionate about training, monitoring, and coaching. Naomi hosted office management and technology students annually, providing internship opportunities for library science graduates and students in communications and journalism. She also lectured part-time at the Cape Technikon, now called CPUT, that is from 1996 to 2003. And in 2004, she served as a substitute lecturer at the UWC. All right. I think I can move to the next speaker, which is our last. All right. And then we also have Miss Rachel. I don't really have much of the background information or biography, but she is part of the speakers, and apologies for that. We will prepare better in the future. Thank you. Over to you, speakers, and Mr. Murajan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sakile, for that particular introduction. This panel is well loaded, Mr. Martin. You selected the Imbogotos, the great Imbogotos. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Martin requested me to pose certain questions to you. So as I present the question to your colleagues, you'll answer it, and then I'll try to put that in that order. In terms of time, I've heard that one of our colleagues will be leaving earlier than the other. So now the first question that we, as Northwest, we would like to hear from our colleagues so that we can empower the women who are aspiring to lead this particular organization. Now, the first question will be, what inspired you to agree in taking a leadership role in an organization, and how did you balance everything? What inspired you to agree in taking a leadership role in the organization, and how did you balance everything? So I will ask Naomi to lead this particular question, and then it will be Rachel, Sekhameti, and then Nikki, in that order. What inspired you to agree in taking a leadership role in the organization, and how did you balance everything?
Hi there. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
Can I first of all also just thank you for inviting me to join in this day. I'm very honored, and I applaud you for putting together this program. I think we all agree that this is critical and important to acknowledge the role of females. And I think a few things I might allude to would, also strengthen that view of why it is still important to do that. And thank you so much for all the things that you have said, both Martin and Teboho, about women. And it is really encouraging to hear that you have that viewpoint and understand the role of both males and females in society and in our profession. Yes, they have indicated that I unfortunately will have to leave early as I have other commitments that I couldn't get out of. So I'll jump right in to your first question. I was definitely inspired very early on in my career by strong women leaders. You must remember that at the time when I graduated and started working, although library profession has been a very dominant female profession, and typically many more women became librarians than males, the senior positions were mostly held by men. So that is one of the things that I need you to understand, to see how this progressed over the years and how the landscape indeed has changed. And not that we want to disparage anybody's contribution, but there is a much more equal division of leadership roles between women and men that we see now than when I started off. So when I just graduated, I joined the then Library Association at the time and observed the women who were leading lights in the LIS profession. I remember distinctly that I was sitting in a meeting of the association one day and making myself a promise that I will also reach that summit. It inspired me to see that there were women who were taking strong leadership and the difference that they were making. So that was that turning point for me. And I decided there and then that I will get involved. So I joined the association. I was part of the transition from the old brigade to LIASA, was part of the birth of LIASA. And I will speak a little bit more, I think, on one of two of the other questions on the importance of that, of making yourself available and then, stepping up to the podium, so to speak. So that was the starting point. But critical to the involvement that I had over all these years within LIASA was having the support from my superiors and my organization. This was key. Otherwise, it was impossible to balance all the demands. I needed to accept that I had to prove myself to my organization and take responsibility to fulfill the demands of my work environment, but also LIASA. You could not neglect the one and not the other, give them both your equal attention and full cooperation. So that was the first thing, was to convince my employer that how important this was and what this would mean for them as well, having me in a leadership position within the profession. And I was fortunate. I was supported all the years with my involvement, had freedom to attend meetings and take care of the business of LIASA as well as my own work. Because this meant long hours, working at night and weekends. It is not for the faint-hearted. Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, the other support system was my family. They gave me the freedom to use some of my home time to pay attention to LIASA demands and sometimes travel and not be available. So I was lucky that I had both that enabled me what I needed to do. So I'm not saying it was easy to have a balance. Some days it was more difficult than others, but those support systems are critical. And I think, Tabor, you said something about, being successful is having somebody standing, well, I would think next to you rather than behind you. That is actually very true.
All right. Thank you very much, Naomi. You finished your time less than what I've had, yeah. Okay, because this is an first question, I've given you all 4 minutes, colleagues. So let's go to Mary Rachel. I'm starting my clock this side, Mary Rachel.
Oh, sorry, Chairperson, I sent you the on the chat group that Mary Rachel is not joining us. She's committed elsewhere. So you can
Okay.
just go. We've got only 3, Naomi
Okay.
Asbrook, Sahameti, and Nikki. Thank you.
Okay. Ausisiha, I used to call you that way.
Yes.
Over to you.
Good morning, colleagues. It is indeed a pleasure to be talking to you. Thanks for inviting us. Thanks for thinking about this. And I was just talking to say, I wonder how much of this have we put in record. Northwest is saying to us, you haven't shared a lot. You haven't shared enough. When we look on our website, we say past presidents is just the name and nothing else. So we can do better. Northwest, thank you for leading this. And thank you for introducing us so well. I nearly ululated, but I said, I cannot just. Thank you so much. But I was just putting my face here so that I can connect with the colleagues. I can put it off because it affects the network at times. We are working from home.
No problem.
Yes, yes. Colleagues, what inspired me for this leadership? Firstly, as I share the same sentiments with my predecessor, Naomi, that being in the sector that is women-dominated, it's not just obvious that you would be a leader, because you will not be parachuted to the leadership. So many things had to happen. But as I was growing in the sector, the first thing that inspired me was I was there when LIASA was born. So it was like I'm very passionate about this democratic association.
Sorry, Memulawa, I'm not
Yes.
sure. Yeah, you're speaking far away from your microphone.
Is that so?
Yes, now it's okay now.
Oh, you can hear me now? Now
yes.
I'm on top of the laptop.
All right. No, that's
Unless
right.
if it needed me to put some volumes, but if you can hear me well now, that's okay.
Yes, we can now.
Okay. So as I continued being so passionate about our democratic association, that I saw where it started. Because we came, or I was one of the people who came into the profession when we were culminating the 2 associations motivated by race, that we cannot join the other, but we belong to the other. But then getting into this democratic one, it was, there was so much excitement in me. Hence, I continued. Immediately after LIASA was launched, I started serving in the interim committee. And as I continued serving in the interim committee, I went on and on for years. Imagine LIASA was born in 1997, but I continued like that, serving from one rep council to the other, volunteering in bodies like what Tebogo is doing. So I served in so many bodies of LIASA at different levels, in the branch and in the interest group. So it continued just like that. But the day when Mr. Tsebe said, just after we elected Ujala in, and he said, I think you are ready for the next presidency. I was so shocked. I was shivering, and because after doing all these things, I never thought I am fit to be the president. But it is so amazing that outside, at church, the church is a very comfortable platform for skills, and singers start at church, leaders start there,
Yes.
most of the people. I was asking myself, I'm leading more than 10,000 women at the regional platform in our church. Why am I so scared to lead our association with 1,000 little bit plus members? But then the other thing was saying, but you have seen how robust the discussions at the AGM are when the president and the EXCO are under fire. This is not for you. But then I already had started the journey to build the I can in me. So I continued looking through, and then that's how I became ready. Then and the model of having one as a president-elect helped, because you continue with somebody already seeing yourself in the boots. So that helps to avail yourself quite early and continue, but you need to be passionate. That's what I did. And Naume has already said a lot of things. It's not for sissies. Very, very challenging. I will address a lot of things as we continue. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you. I remember those AGMs. Okay, in the interest of time, let's move to Nikki. Over to you, Nikki. I'm starting my timer this side.
Certainly, Mr. Program Director. Good morning again, everyone. Greetings. All protocols observed as such. Thank you so much again for this amazing opportunity to share some thoughts with you, and I'm honored to be asked about this. I'm going to just jump in, Tibsa, as you know me, to the question, what inspired me to agree taking up a leadership role in the organization? As I matured as an LIS professional, I became more aware of my own talents and abilities, and I observed how these could be put to use in service of LIASA and its members. I believe in servant leadership, which focuses on developing the best of myself and the best of everyone else. And I try to focus on that as much as I can. But I must say that at the time, I didn't put myself forward. I was lucky enough, and some of it is about luck. I attended the ULIS 2 meeting. I had just joined the higher education sector, and as we may all remember, there was a very strong presence from higher education in the development of LIASA. And my library director at the time took me along to Durban to ULIS 2. And so from even before the birth of LIASA, and another thing was that my library director, and this is very important, was a very strong proponent of LIASA. And he is one of the people whom some of you will remember, Bill Bennett, who contributed to the formation of LIASA, if not directly as part of senior executive, then certainly through advocacy. And so for a while, I was not involved in LIASA for personal reasons, but towards the beginning of 2000s, I became a LIASA member formally, and then a few years later, I became a member of the branch executive. And this was where I recognized my roles and abilities, because I have an IT background, IT base, and at the time, IT in LIASA was not very well developed. And it's always been a concern of mine. And as such, I spent a few years in the branch executive. But as time went by, as I said, I recognized that I also have a role to play as the branch chairs were coming, dutifully reporting back on what was happening in EXCO and at RIPCO. I felt that there were changes that needed to be attended to and that I had a role there. However, in terms of leadership, I decided around about 2012 that I wanted to step up into the meaningful role of branch chair, because that was all I thought I could rise to. But my LIASA colleagues saw me in a different light. So very much my trajectory, like Naomi, like Sekhametsi, other people, and that is a lesson for us as women, other people see our worth more than we see our own worth. And so my colleagues elected me or twisted my arm to agree. It was a rubber arm, so they didn't get a lot of resistance from me to national PRO. So once the seed was planted, I thought I can do that. And as a successfully occupying that post, I was then exposed to powerful women and how they operated. And my president, Molawa, was my inspiration. So just as Naomi spoke about her aha moment, nobody has heard this before, Sikha. One day, sometime, I don't remember exact day, in a LIASA meeting, could have been an EXCO meeting, could have been a RIPCO meeting, I looked up, there was my president speaking, leading, being a role model, and I thought, I wish I could be a president. I wish I could inspire people and change people's lives the way you were doing, Sekhametsi. And so when it's funny how in life it seems to be coincidental, but I don't believe that things in life are coincidental. They are meant to be. And it wasn't long after that that I was approached to stand for president. And when I remembered that aha moment, what it is I thought I could do and offer, I must admit, I didn't just jump through it. I went through similar thought processes that Sekhametsi described. And then I wrote to the persons and said, I will accept this nomination, provided that you support me. Because the theme of support is absolutely crucial when one takes up a leadership position of this nature. And like my fellow colleagues, I've missed weddings, birthdays, anniversaries, worked till 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. Members of my executive will remember working very long, late hours, my fellow presidents and the executives. It requires dedication, but we are not, no man is an island, as Ernest Hemingway, I think, said. But we are in this together. Each one teaches one, but each one lifts the other one up. I've got more to say, Tibsa, unless my time is up.
Okay. Thank you very much, Nikki. Okay, at this moment, I'll also welcome Mary Rachel. Mary Rachel, I'll skip you on this particular question. You'll join the colleagues on the next question. Thank you very much for, that's Imbogoto. Multitasking. She's this side, she's this side. So we appreciate your effort, Mary Rachel. So now let's quickly move to the next question. This question, I'm going to give you 2 minutes, colleagues. The first one, I try to expand so that we can understand where you come from. So now the second question, it will be a 2 minutes question. So the question is, what advice will you give young women who aspire to become leaders, whether within the LIASA organization or in their careers in general? So I will start in that order. Naomi, Rachel, and Sekhametsi. The last one will be Nikki. In that order. Over to you, Naomi.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think critical is that, first of all, you have to believe in yourself, your own value and what you can bring to the table. And both Nikki and Sekhametsi alluded to the fact that one often has self-doubt, and that equally, I was sometimes surprised at how I realized other people viewed me and the influence that I could have. So it's critical to believe in yourself, to understand what you can bring to the table, not to second guess yourself. And yes, I also recall very clearly, I think the first time I had to stand in front of an audience of a fairly big group, that my knees were knocking because I was nervous. It's not easy, but you believe in yourself and you force yourself, you push yourself, and you'll be surprised at how easy it then becomes. It becomes easier and easier every step you take. Then, of course, it is important to set personal goals. You must know where you want to be. You need to map out where you want to go professionally. Otherwise, it might just be random jumping from job to job. Set personal goals. Decide what you want to be and what you want to do. Master personal leadership. I am particularly passionate about personal leadership. That means you work on your own discipline. Be disciplined. Be on time. Do what you say you, or what you promise that you will do. If you promise to do something, do it. Those sort of personal leadership. First of all, you have to lead yourself, and then you can be an example to others.
Yeah.
Of course, yes, that's very, very important to remember, because if you cannot lead yourself, you will fail in trying to lead other people.
Okay.
Then, of course, you have to seek opportunities, step forward, and step up. Do more than is expected from you, and you will be noticed. And this is very true within your career, as well as in the greater profession. You would have heard from my CV that I got involved with communication and conference organizing. I saw a gap at my institution. I stepped up. I stepped up. I got in there. I discovered I have talents in that line. My superiors noticed that, and that became part of my skill set. I have learned so much by doing that. So you must see where there are opportunities and put your hand up. Say, I'll do it. I'll do it. Even if you don't have experience, try it, and you will be surprised at what you can achieve. Within LIASA, I think it's important to start small, at branch or interest group level, and get involved with the leadership in the sector in your immediate environment. I did that as well, because you gain experience. I have probably worked in all the positions within the structures, secretary to treasurer to PRO to branch chair, then rep council, and ultimately then moving on to the national leadership. Because you gain all the experience, you know the context of the association, you know the context of your sector, that makes you ready to take on the national leadership.
Okay.
And then, of course, remember that involvement with LIASA leads to so much personal growth and development. You acquire many new skills that is useful for your career, including public speaking, for instance.
Yes.
And then, of course, as I said before, you need to seek support from your organization, from your family. Make sure they understand what it will mean, because there will be sacrifices everywhere. But the opportunities that you can have, such as travel, exposure to the world's libraries, understanding the LIS landscape, is invaluable. And then, of course, lastly, you will also be making yourself visible and be able to meet and interact with potential future employers, especially for young graduates. That is very, very useful, because you can start interacting, learn more, see where the opportunities are.
Okay. Thank you very much, Naomi. Rachel, over to you. What advice will you give to young women who aspire to become leaders, whether within the LIASA organization or in their careers in general? Over to you, Rachel. Apelele, where's Rachel?
She's Tatemorejan. Rachel, she's not part of the meeting, right?
Okay. All right. All right. It's fine. No, I can understand the issue of conference, multitasking. Thank you very much for that heads up. Ne? Okay. Ausicha, over to you.
Thank you.
Your 2 minutes is starting.
I know you said 2 minutes. I think Naomi did not hear your 2 minutes. I had to try to stop her.
You don't interfere with an elder when an elder is talking.
I know. Okay.
Mr. Program Director, I taught you better.
Okay, I'm starting your 2 minutes.
As I advise the young women,
Speak closer to your mic.
Okay, now you
Yes.
can hear me. Advise young people who
You are still far?
I'm on top of my laptop. I don't
Yes,
know.
now we can hear you nicely now.
Okay.
Yes.
So I was saying to advise young women who aspire to be in leadership is to start now, young, to involve themselves. Grab the opportunity as they come. Now, me was time and again saying, raise your hand where it is possible. You know, you cannot raise your hand where you know you have not gone other steps. You must go and follow, you know, your line of interest so that you are not frustrated in what you have been, what you volunteered for, and you volunteered for something that you don't deliver in. So I'm saying to the young ladies, be smart and give of your skills. We have so many skills, but so we don't bring it to our profession. So if we bring everything on the table, we are going to be so good bringing everything together, complementing each other. And do not stop to learn new things, the skills and, you know, all the other development, moving with the trends, you know, and then take yourself very serious. The era of I'm a mere librarian, it's gone. And I'm happy that I never subscribed to I'm a mere librarian. Ever since I chose my career, I was very passionate about it. I'm not intimidated when I'm sitting with other careers, other people in different careers, seeing them as better than librarianship. I'm a proud librarian and lead a balanced life. All those juggling balls that you live in as a leader must not be compromised. Because if you compromise your family, then you will not put it together again. So the main thing is when you lead a balanced life, you take care of yourself, your health, and, you know, physically do the gym, walk, eat well, and read, and, you know, because each and every area of your life need to be nourished as you continue doing your leadership, because you can ask yourself, at what cost am I doing this? So exposure, like what LIASA has done for me, was so good that communication, the marketing, project management, those things landed in my hands when I availed myself. When I saw myself going through a diplomatic etiquette training, I laughed. I said, yeah, now this, because we were going to communicate with people in other countries. If you don't know now, what kind of a leader are you? So those things are very interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know when you are stopping me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mulawa. Nikki, your 2 minutes is starting.
All right. Thank you, Tipsa. Thank you, Program Director. Advice to give to young women who aspire to be leaders: know yourself. Firstly, know your purpose in life, whether it's your sole purpose, whether it's your professional purpose, but know what it is and understand your strengths. There's the story about an astronaut who came to visit a place and he saw a janitor, the man was sweeping the floors, and he said, "What are you doing? What is your job?" And the man who's sweeping the floors said to him, "I'm contributing to helping putting a man on the moon." And so look at your greater purpose. You might be sweeping floors, but by sweeping floors, you are making a contribution to the whole. So when you make a contribution to LIASA, whether it be in what you consider to be a small position, you are still making a contribution to the whole. Secondly, be authentic, have integrity, do what you say you will do, stick to your beliefs, speak to your truth, speak your truth, but do it with respect and compassion. Always be the best you can be. And as Maya Angelou said, according to Tepsa, then do it better. But never be apologetic about doing your best. If other people are mediocre, that's their truth, it's not your truth. And on that note, take care whom you associate with. Associate with people who want to be the best they can be. Leadership is not dependent on position. I know of so many people who have strived to be presidents or other leadership positions, and when they are unsuccessful in the elections, they become bitter and spiteful. Rather, focus on what appears to be failures or disappointments. Embrace these as steps to learning, to progress and success. Don't let these events put you off on your end goal, what your focus is. Reach out. There will be help. There are many who are willing to help. Don't be put off if someone can't help you. There's a time and place for everything. And it is said, people come into your life for a reason and a season. So if it's not the time, it's not the season, that's okay. There is somebody else who will be there to help you. Keep on learning, keep on growing, keep on developing. Every morning or the night before, you plan for the next day or for this day. I'm going to do something for my heart, something with my family, could be your social community, could be your church, something for your body. Keep fit, get enough sleep, socialize, go dancing, something for your mind, read, learn, grow professionally, grow in your professional community, something for your soul, pray, meditate, walk in nature, it could be spiritual, etc. Then speak your success outward. Don't listen to your inner negative voice. We all have an inner negative voice. I have 9 people who tell me, hey, you look really good. And then I have the 10th person who says, oh, not doing so good, are you? Which one do I focus on? The one that I remember is that last one, not the other 9 people. And so choose what you listen to. And that inner voice that says we are not good enough is merely a manifestation of our inner fears. As we've all shared, there have people who've seen us in different ways. Make sure that you see yourself in a good way when you look in the mirror. Thank you, Program Director.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, having given these particular advices to young people, now let's reflect back on you as leaders. Did you achieve what you had aimed to achieve within the organization during your tenure? Let's say, Naume, did you achieve what you had aimed to achieve within the organization during your tenure? Reflecting on the advice that you have given to young people, as you reflect back on yourself, did you manage to achieve those things? Or is Naomi gone?
Hello, Teboho.
Oh.
No, I am here. I just had a minute of a distraction.
Okay.
Could you just repeat your question to me? Then I will carry on with that and I will not speak so long again.
Yes, no problem, no problem. I'm saying, as we reflect on what you have just given as an advice to young leaders or young women who are aspiring for leadership, now let's reflect on you as previous leaders of the organization. Were you able to achieve these particular goals in terms of the organization during your tenure? And you can also convert that as an advice to the upcoming leaders.
Yes, in terms of my time as president, and
Yes.
I think others will agree with me, it actually went by very fast. You think you have lots of time to achieve certain goals, but before you know it, the time has flown by.
Sure.
But I am quite proud of what we were able to achieve during the time that I was president.
Sure.
There were several highlights and achievements. And I think one thing that assisted was to develop a strategic plan. We worked very hard at developing a strategic plan for the period of our being in the leadership positions. And that provided clear goals. So we used that as a team to focus what the activities would be, where we had to put our focus, what kind of work we had to do. So we used it very well. to inform the areas we focused on. And I think that was time well spent, having a brainstorming session of the whole executive team, putting together that document that was our, it really gave us the path that we had to follow. And I don't know if you want me to segue then into perhaps the next segment of, you know, what were the highlights that we managed to have. And I think there's also some questions about challenges. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I wanted to check in terms of the time, when will you leave us?
I actually need to leave soon. So I don't know if you want to perhaps allow.
Okay, let me request Nikki and Sekhameti to pause a bit, and then you move to the next segment of the question, and see how, and maybe even the issue of criticism, and then you can wrap your side. Are you with me now, Minnie? Oh, it's 12 o'clock. It could be load shedding, eh?
Yeah, it might be.
Yes, it's possible.
Yeah, it is possible. It could be load shedding because it's 12 o'clock. I didn't check my schedule also decide. Okay. So it's fine. It should not be a plane crash. So let's move to Ausis Khameti. Let's hear your input as we turn the tables a little bit and put to you in terms of achieving the organizational goals during your tenure. Over to you, Ausis Kha.
Thank you so much, Debo. In my term, the strategic focus was on the implementation of the transformation charter. So we were supposed to raise awareness of the transformation charter. And you know, the transformation charter, I mean, after giving birth to a democratic association, we are still, the mind is still, you know, there's nothing as difficult as changing the mind. That we have to do things differently now, we are one. It was not one of the easiest. And when we had to implement the transformation charter, there was a lot of pushing to be done because other institutions were just sending firm to say, we are not going to do that. Because it was the issue of when we look at quality assurance, distribution of resources, but then if the governance was not in place, we would not get anything done. So we had to, we had a whole list of around 40 things that we needed, but we had to prioritize and take 10 of them to say, if these ones can be achieved, then we will go somewhere. The implementation of the strategic plan that Naomi's term started to develop was continuing. So doing this, at least we know our strategy. Every term we have the priorities we continue, but we have a specific focus. So it helped us. And that we had leaders. John Sebe was so available. He is Dr. John Sebe now, you should know. He was so available to facilitate this for us, even if we can invite an outside facilitator, but from the side of the profession, himself and the others of his league, they used to assist even with the history they are having. And then issues like to develop library guidelines and to develop standards for the profession, for the library and information science. The things were not coming up very fast because we would need to get funds, we would need support, but I'm happy that the Department of Arts and Culture came out with support, great support financially to have this, most of the priorities funded because they will be handled as a project that people should be appointed and this task must continue. So at least I would say in the 10, I didn't tabulate them all here, but I would comfortably say around 90% of those, because by the time we were implementing, some of them were loose hanging apples. They were already done in the sector. In even things, even including how librarians should be treated in the profession, that their salaries are so low, things like those don't change overnight. But
Sure.
we approach the different stakeholders, but it was taking long. We know some of them are still hanging, but others move swiftly to say people are qualified. Why should they be rated or paid less than the equal qualification? Why
Sure.
librarians? All those things went on and on, but as I say, it was not without fighting in some areas. So what I would say was the part that we really wanted to achieve, or in my term, I wanted to see up and running, was to have a mentoring program up and running. We could not have, because I went through one myself, and even getting a mentor, international mentors were available, but we never had as an association, as LIASA. So I was dreaming to have one. But then it was not coming well. It was not fitting well, because when I approached people who were doing that, they just wanted 100,000 upfront to start a program for you. Because I wanted to see the seasoned professionals volunteering as mentors, and the mentees being able to place themselves, seeing the profiles and all that, but we ended up still not getting it up and running. But now I would say, half a minute, I would say I'm happy, because when Betsy Esther got an award, the Sabinet Award of the most influential librarian, I piggybacked on that to volunteer as a mentor. So that platform is there.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Ausisiha. And then Nikki, just to pause for a moment, let's allow Naomi to summarize her response, so that she can be able to join another session where she's needed. I can see she was able to join back.
Yes, thank you. I got momentarily disconnected as we switched on to load shedding.
Yes,
so I am back. It would be great if you have what you would like see as pressing for me to respond to, so that I can excuse myself.
Yes,
what specifically do you want me to speak to? Sorry, yes?
I wanted you to respond to your achievement in terms of your goals, in short, and also speak about the next part, the highlights, and maybe the issue of criticism. How can you advise a person in leadership? How will that person handle criticism? Because leadership comes with criticism sometimes. So if you can wrap all those things, then we can excuse you, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much.
Thanks. Okay.
Yes, there are a few very distinct highlights during my presidency that I am particularly proud of, and that I think were milestones for the association. One of those were at the time when we introduced the NGPL, or the Next Generation Public Librarian Scholarship Project. I was part of the process as a team and with Ujala to apply for a grant of 10 million rand for the scholarship project. And this speaks to training new librarians, giving public librarians the opportunity to also expand and develop their skills. So that was in 2012, in the middle of my presidency, and I was privileged to be part of that, to introduce it, to help select the recipients, and to see that project get off the ground. almost simultaneously, there was then also, at the time, the UCT Department of Library and Information Studies was under threat of being discontinued, which was of great concern to all of us. So I was involved in the lobbying and engaged with the DVC at UCT and all the heads of the public library systems to support the continuation of the postgraduate diploma in library information studies, the PG DIPLIS. And I'm so happy that we were very successful. Our case that we argued was, I think, very well received, and we could then contribute. I felt that it was an important contribution for LIASA to contribute to now a new vibrant Department of Knowledge and Information Stewardship at UCT. So that was a proud achievement as well. Furthermore, I led the bid process for the IFLA 2015 conference in Cape Town. And I'm sure everybody will agree that was a great coup for LIASA to be selected to host this conference, to be able to convince the IFLA governing board that we were quite capable and had a lot to offer as a country. And then, of course, being part of the organizing team going forward and being fully involved with the organizing of this IFLA conference in Cape Town. That was a wonderful experience and one of my highlights. A further quite important highlight was in 2011 when I signed the Berlin Declaration on Open Access on behalf of LIASA. I think that was an important step and an important milestone. And at that time, we migrated the SAGLIS to an open access platform. This was from 2012. So those were particular highlights. I think there were many more, but these were quite important milestones, I think, in the development of LIASA. I think just briefly, challenges that we've had during that time was, of course, retaining and recruiting membership. That has always been a challenge, and I think it is still a challenge. It needed much effort to make a difference, and continuing interaction with stakeholders and employers to garner support for LIASA. And this is, again, very important to be sure that our LIASA membership grows and that we have future leaders, a next generation that are supported by the institutions to participate in LIASA. I think you said then you would want me to speak to criticism and change.
Yes.
Criticism and change, those are both not easy to deal with. It really is, I think, some of the difficult things that a leader has to face. Now, the key for me is listening to everybody. I try to listen to criticism and feedback and to welcome feedback. One should be open. I think you need to be open to sit around a table and invite feedback, not only from your supporters, but perhaps from those who do not support you. I mean, the people who don't believe in what you believe in. You have to invite everybody, come sit around the table and let's talk about this. So it's important to listen to all the viewpoints. I've learned over the years with
especially those who disagree with you.
Absolutely. That is critical one. I've learned over the years that you have to, when you have a meeting, you also have to make sure that you give everybody the opportunity to speak. It cannot be one-sided. It should never be one-sided. But your biggest critics, you need to be able to listen to them. It's important to listen to it. I would then consider all the facts and try to understand where it comes from. You've got to understand that your own viewpoint and perspective is not the only one that is valid.
That is true.
Yes, exactly, because our perspectives are different. We come from different backgrounds,
Sure.
and that makes our perspective different. We look at it differently. I think a great trait of a leader is to acknowledge when you are wrong. That's a very strong sign of leadership. You've got to be able to say, yes, I was wrong. I think I understand what you are saying, and your suggestion sounds much better than mine. So that I think is something you've got to learn as a leader. Change is part of life. It's never the same. Tomorrow is never the same as today. It's inevitable whether you embrace it or not. It's going to happen. So whether you accept it or not, it will happen. Change will happen. So my philosophy is to accept that change will happen, to see it as a positive thing, and to see it as an opportunity to grow as a person. It is valid in both your personal life.
Yeah, I hear what you are saying. Are you still with us, Naomi? Oh, we lost Naomi, but I think she has summarized her portion. Wanted her to finish that part so that when that time of her to leave comes, she should be able to go. Thank you very much, Naomi. So now let's go back to the program. Nikki, you are supposed to respond to that question. Can you go back to you, Nikki?
Hi, Teboho. Certainly I can. So just give me 1 second, please. Right. What are your highlights during your tenure, including challenges that you faced? Right?
Yes.
So I became president in 2018, October 2018. And talking about your knees knocking, Naomi, I remember Vicky McDonald, who's the incoming or is the IFLA president now, was the guest speaker, one of the keynote speakers at that conference. And she had done her thing, and I was sitting there, and my other president, Mandla Ntombela, was on the stage doing his farewell speech, and I literally started shaking. I was alone. There was nobody around me. I was busy looking at my acceptance speech notes, and I was shaking, and I thought I was going to have a panic attack and I wouldn't be able to take over the presidency. So it is overwhelming. It's an incredible honor, but incredibly overwhelming, and the importance of having people around you, and also for each person to recognize that just because one is in a senior leadership position, whether you're the president of a country or the president of a library association, you need support. You are also only human. You might not act like it and you might not think it, but believe me, those people are as human as you and I, and they bleed red blood. My LIASA presidency theme, which is very, very important because it sets a tone and it sets an intention, and it allows one to respond to questions: what did you achieve or what didn't you achieve? Was advancing development through collaboration, partnerships, and innovation, because I firmly believe that no person is an island. No person can do this on their own. Even Tata Mandela had people who helped and assisted to make the success that he achieved. And what I wrote was, to succeed will require authentic leadership, innovative thinking as we navigate what will be challenging waters at the time. Boy, oh boy, did I not realize the depth of the challenging waters that faced this particular term of office. I continued, I am confident that with your partnership, collaboration, and innovation, we will succeed. I ask you to commit joining me on this journey. And if you agree, please make this visible by showing the hashtag with your hands. And I was then, Tebogo, the first president that came out with a hashtag. And my hashtag was I commit. And in that speech, in that presidential theme, a lot of who I was came out. A lot of my leadership beliefs and a lot of the advice that I've shared this morning comes out in that theme, that we walk together in order to achieve things. Sometimes you carry somebody, sometimes you lead, sometimes you are carried, but we do this together and we bring out the best in each other. So one of the most important things that I had learned in my time as part of the LIASA executive, by that time for about what it was the third time years, it was year 5 already, and almost a decade of being involved in LIASA at various branch and other governance levels, was listen. Naomi spoke about it earlier on, and I put that in 2019 into action. Remember when I said partnerships, partnerships does mean listening as well. And I then launched the Sialalela tour. Sialalela, we are listening. And that is what we did. Together with various members of the executive committee who were available and who had to spearhead leadership in their own branches, we went across the country over a period of 6 to 9 months, and we listened to people. And I have a lifelong, deep respect for LIASA members, for LIS practitioners, for women, for men, for anyone who put themselves forward, because what I saw touched me deeply. The commitment to the profession under sometimes terrible, terrible working conditions. People who took money out of their own pocket to feed children in the library, people who were volunteering at that time for 7 years, but they kept on because of their belief in making a difference to the community, really touched me. And I maintained respect for them up to today and further on. And their qualities of persistence are those that I try to imbue into the executive committee. We will continue regardless, because the regardless was pretty tough, to put it mildly. So when after our first year, after Sialalela, I was strong enough because I had people on my executive committee that included Mr. Tebogo Moriane, who could speak about the King for principles. I took to the AGM that year the LIASA restructuring according to the King for principles, using good governance, legitimacy, and credibility as the key principles built on a strong foundation of what LIASA had already committed to in terms of its vision and its mission. And that was accepted in 2019 formally by LIASA AGM, by the people. Now, it was the culmination of many years of work, many workshops, a lot of talking, but it actually is on the books that in my term restructuring became accepted and formalized. And the model that I had proposed, it might change. We'll see what happens at the upcoming LIASA AGM. For me, life is about moving forward. But at that time, I had proposed a specific model that spoke to collaboration, partnerships, innovation, and using the best in people and helping each other out. So where branches were weak, other branches were strong, and that the profession would grow as a whole. The AGM agreed to the restructure, but I did ask for a proof of concept, which we were due to deliver in the AGM of 2020. We did not deliver it because COVID-19 happened, and the proof of concept could not work in an online mode because we were not geared for an online mode. And what became very evident, we had already picked this up in 2019, was that there was a big financial divide across our country and across LIASA. And it mimics the demographic of this country, the economic demographic, the social demographic, and any other lines that show different groups of people. And at the poorest of the poor, LIASA members did not have access to mobile devices. They did not have connectivity in their homes. They did not have infrastructure where they lived. They did not sometimes have electricity where they lived, and therefore we could not do a proof of concept under those conditions, where the haves were the ones who were going to have and participate in a proof of concept, because again, the model was built on across a range of types of people, groups of people. So we didn't do that. And for me, in a way, one could argue it was a challenge. Of course, it was a challenge. However, one of the successes was one could really see who really supported you. A lot of lies were told to me during that time. I know that one is supposed to put a positive spin on it, but I will also speak with authenticity and speak truth to power. And people were saying to me, "Oh no, we can't do this because these people don't have, we don't have access to." Resources and so on. Some of that was true and some of that was not true. There were people with agendas. Sorry, am I finished with time? Just give me half a minute, please. There were people with agendas, and that is something that I would like the young people also to understand. Listen to people, but listen critically. Listen with an open ear. You know? When you're in a difficult position, you do need to trust other people. And a lot of past presidents and other senior people in LIASA guided me significantly but I also wasn't guided. In my last 20 seconds or so, I want to say the following. What I obtained from AGM, this was an agreement to name the CPD activity, the Claire Walker Center for Continuing Professional Development. And what I did, I laid strong foundations for LIASA to step onto. And I said this to my executive committee. I said, there is only so much one can do in 2 years. And even though the term of office spanned 3 years, it wasn't 3 whole years, because for a long time during the pandemic, we were cut off from each other. I said, all we can do is lay firm foundations. The firm foundation was around the restructuring. I also started the conversation and laid the seeds for RPE, recognition of prior experience, which is as opposed to the RPL, that was not academic. The talk about pushing forward the second designation. I have a strong respect for support staff, and I think that LIASA does not serve them sufficiently well. I also then sowed the seed for, I reduced the conference debt. For years and years, conference debt had been growing because we had allowed certain approaches to change, and consequently LIASA had to bear the brunt of this, and we had serious conference debt in that people owed us a large amount of money. I've got about 800,000 Rand down, where people would come with POs and those POs would not be honored, and we'd spend people's time, which translated into money, into trying to recover money, and then we weren't successful. And through a very firm approach, we reduce that debt, and therefore LIASA is in a fairly good condition financially as well, despite the fact, that we had our 2 income streams cut off, namely membership and conference. Lastly, in 2019, during my term, I had the highest number of LIASA members in the recorded history, and that I believe was an indicator of the confidence that the LIASA had in that executive of that year. Of course, things changed the next year when COVID started. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you, Nikki. Over to you, Ausi Khametsi. The next question, I don't know whether Khametsi, did you handle the issue of criticism and change?
No, I didn't, because
okay. Speak closer to your mic, Ausi Kha.
I had to cut those actually because we were supposed to accommodate Naomi, but just in passing to mention them before we come to criticism, to say during this time.
Okay, just speak closer to your mic. We can't hear you clearly.
Can you hear me now? You still can't hear me?
Yeah,
you still can't hear me?
No, we can hear you now clearly. Yes.
Okay, I was saying again during the term 2016 to 2018,
yes,
we managed to have LIASA registered as a library professional body. So we got our status. So we finalized. So most of the things that we were finalizing in 2016, we had started already in 2014. So we were going along because we apply, they come back, they want us to change, things like those. So we only could culminate there. And we saw our publications in LIASA having, formal hosting, things were improved around them. Our South African Journal of Library and Information Science, and at least we wanted things to be done properly. We appoint the editor there, and then we have our LIASA, because some of the things we had these ideas, but not yet well put to continue. And then launching the flagships, our South African Library Week, because since Naomi's term, when we were looking at this, giving it a motivation to happen around Human Rights Day, because we are recognized access to information is a human right. So let it be there. So we were motivating all this, but they will go into the next term. And then South African Librarians Day, the 10th June, when when LIASA's birthday, 10 July. And then again, now they started and they proposed South Africa to host, and they submitted. And during Ujala's time, we work on this, we network, we do everything. Then 2015, during my term, voila, I host the IFLA. So most of the things don't start right there. The chain, it continues, and we have to work together. Hence, something that people did not understand why we are having co-chairing in 2015. Why did we have a co-chairing? It's because a whole lot of things that were done in the tab. So you cannot just come in and cut this one out for this project. Hence, then the co-chairing, and then you are hosting an international conference. So we are happy about that. Then going back to the issue of handling criticism. Sure, it's at times you cannot just remove feeling the pain of being criticized, because there are people who are very toxic. They will not come, even if it's a profession, they will not bring constructive criticism. They will attack, and they will really make efforts to destroy. So I know there are other young professionals we have lost who just came and found us fighting like that at our AGM. And as we say, sometimes it's not for the soft-hearted. Then they say, not for me. So at times, as professionals, we forget. But during my term, I had to handle a group of students from Limpopo who were strongly feeling that they want a union for LIS. LIASA is doing nothing for them. What is this useless association? It's not helping them in anything. And citing all the problems of librarians earning little and all the other challenges librarians are having in the workplace. Then we called them to come to the office. And we had a meeting with them. They joined us at the meeting, and we were discussing and showing them what a union. We don't even make numbers to can make a union. And what is the difference between union and professional association? They left there very happy, and they even took their membership right away. So they were criticizing and being outside. And this is what we experience. Our colleagues, most of them are standing outside saying, what is LIASA doing for me? They are not yet members. They are not paying their membership, but they are criticizing, standing out there. So what I had to do during the term, because we were having this a very hot AGM our first year. When we went out, some of the members of the EXCO felt we are done. We are done. We have never seen this approach. Colleagues cannot come all the way to just lash and not come with solutions. So the painful part was some of the people who came to lash, we had approached as EXCO to say, we need help. Because when we get into leadership, we are not master of all. So we don't know some of the things we are doing at a very low level. You don't know there are, how do you run the meeting, the governance of this. Sometimes we learn along the way. You don't come 100% perfect. So other people are fortunate to have been exposed to such, but they don't come up to assist. So this is what I would call colleagues to do, to say, we need not scare our young professionals by attacking each other in meetings. We must be available to hold their hand. Not that we want, you don't get into presidency when you want to be your hand held all the time. You must have done a little bit, your part. But there are areas where you need support. You need to be complimented and not to be thrown out for failure. So those are just my comments about handling criticism. But I was happy that now I was giving coaching to some of the members to say, you are not going to throw in the towel now. They were ready to leave. We've never seen something like this. we are out. Why were they not treating others like that? So I said, no, do your part, you will come back. Let's look at the truth in the criticism. We have to be better here. And then we improved. And then things improved generally. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you. Let's focus on this one. After 25 years of LIASA, do you see any impact that it has done on the profession? And I'll also want you to link that particular question with the impact or the disruption that was caused by COVID on the profession. Do you get me? The impact that LIASA has on the profession, and link that particular impact with also the disruption that was caused by COVID. So I'm left with Nikki and Sekhametse. Let's start with Sekhametse because I know Nikki had a lot to say on COVID on this one. Let's start with you, Sekhametse, on linking the two, the impact over the 25 years and the disruption of COVID.
Again, during my time when we were emphasizing that our conditional grant must continue and must grow, because this was part of the transformation charter. Resources were not going out to other communities. Let them go out now. And libraries were built and things were continuing. But on the other hand, we had a challenge because this was the time when libraries were being closed because in their sectors where they were supposed to reduce budget, the library was the number one to be closed. And municipalities were not giving the libraries the budget. So libraries were being closed. Hence, the team had to go and lobby that libraries are important for the development of community. And then this is the time when libraries were bent down. Why were the libraries being bent down? Is because some of the communities, when they were not serviced, they felt libraries were getting more attention because the grant was improving the libraries. They were building new ones. They were renovating old ones. So they saw that these libraries are distracting attention from us and we are not getting good attention. So they were burning the libraries down. Unfortunately, when the grant has passed, you will stay there for long before getting your other library. So that was a challenge. But during the 25 years of LIASA, immediately when our association became a professional body, I saw most of the professionals that we see people who don't associate with it. But I would just say shame on professionals who don't take their professional because they will be asking about are you a statutory body or what? Unfortunately, this is still our statutory body, and then the act is still underway. They are working on changing it so that it can also have the teeth. They say it doesn't have the teeth. Yeah, I won't go there deeper. But then I have seen, because that time when we were preparing for IFLA, we were having road shows, going around to communities, going to the regions, meeting the people. Now we had an idea of how libraries are impacting the lives of people. And librarians, you know, being part and understanding the SDGs. So they knew that they need to be there with the development.
We are losing you. Can you speak closer to the mic?
And they had to learn to be part of communities, to know that libraries form part to develop the communities. So in the 25 years, we have seen this happening. And again, 2015 gave us a platform to raise awareness of the importance of reading. National Library, I hope you still remember Moponisi. He was getting slots for us. At times, I would not be able to go to other interviews on TV, on radio, everywhere. So we got attention of the importance of libraries, the interviews, you know, I lost count of those. So at that time, I remember they were calling IFLA they were calling it the 2010 our football.
Our FIFA 2010 World Cup.
Yeah, well, but they said it's the World Cup of libraries.
Yeah.
So after the World Cup of libraries, people knew that libraries are very important. And
Yes.
our leaders in our institutions take libraries very serious because we are a professional association. So the way we conduct ourselves, if we don't work hard and focus at our workspace, we will not get the support. As the president, I was supported by a CEO who was not a librarian. Away from the office for a week or two, she will give me support. She will just say, even when you travel internationally, make sure that your turnaround does not change. It was hard, but I did that. But one thing that I commend the CEO for, it was at HSRC. What I commend her for is that she fought when the world said they are not coming to South Africa because of Ebola.
Yes.
Because they were thinking Ebola is here.
Yes,
She wrote to the Minister of Health to say, no, South Africa is about to host the World Cup of Libraries, and they say Ebola is here, they are not coming. The Minister of Health wrote that memo. In 2 days, we had it, and it was sent to IFLA. So it was cleared, and people had a document about the standpoint of South Africa, that we don't have Ebola here, and this is how we are doing our thing. So I would say the raising awareness, and it did not end in South Africa. In 2015, when we made the heads of other states in Africa to sign the declaration,
the Cape Town Declaration,
they must support libraries. They are still commending South Africa for the support because other countries were not supporting their libraries. So this is also our contribution to the SDGs, to say we did not sit here selfish, enjoying arts and culture, giving us millions, but we assisted others. We have not yet arrived. We need to improve quite a lot, but at least we can look back and say we have come this far. We have done.
That's true.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nikki, from where Siha left, put us on that predicament of COVID.
Buti, I spoke so much about COVID. Do you think you can give me 2 minutes because I want to pick up about criticism? I did not.
I'll make it 3.
3 in total. I didn't see how I get 10 minutes.
No, there's a next
Nobody, I'm
question.
teasing you. No,
Yes.
I'm teasing you. You know me.
Yes.
I please, I want to talk 1 minute about I want to pick up what Siha said about that AGM, because I know exactly who and what I was at that AGM. I was the PRO at that AGM. And at one time, my president got very rattled and said to me, you're confusing me, because, you know, that is the lesson to be learned, that when we are stressed out, that we sometimes we need to support each other. And the colleague that Seha was referring to just said, look, this is not for me. And I understand where that person was coming from, because when you're up on that stage, and it was a standing joke amongst us, when you're up on that stage, you know that you're a target. And so the point that I wanted to make about it was that by the time I became president, which was several terms later from that AGM, I was very strong, as my colleagues were, as Siha was, as other people were. But, you know, we learn, we gain from the previous term, we gain from the previous term. So I was lucky because I'd been building on what Umandla did, what Siha did, and so on. And I was very firm about how AGMs were run. business approach. So you didn't have people saying, oh no, on a point of minutes of meetings and so on. We went, no. Secondly, I mean, Tipsa, you know, you were there. Secondly, so business approach, and we knew our constitution. So we said to people, we don't want people who are not LIASA members. You can't come in here. You want to be here, you want to have a voice, put your money where your mouth is. It wasn't about money, it was about commitment. Yeah, if you're not committed enough to pay your membership fees, then don't come here and criticize people who not only have paid money, but they pay with their time, with their effort. And you come here and you cut them down when they're trying the best that they can. So, and then the last point I want to make about criticism is have a group of experts. No person knows everything. I was advised about the constitution by Tebogo. That was his portfolio in my executive. But I also had people outside. I have great respect and love for Leila, whom I call the constitutional expert. And Leila would provide us with advice when it got to COVID. You hear, Buti, I'm onto COVID now. When it got to COVID, and we couldn't, we knew it was very clear that we would not make the deadline that AGM gave us, which was June 2020, to deliver a proof of concept at AGM 2020 around about October. We knew this wasn't going to happen. I turned and I spoke to past presidents. I spoke to stalwarts and senior people in LIASA like Leila and said, what do I do under these conditions? My dear friend Claire Walker, the right Claire Walker, I phoned Claire. I said, there's no precedent for this, Tebogo, around COVID in my term. Everything that we did, or many things that we did during that term, were new. It was not covered by the Constitution. The Constitution didn't speak about the pandemic. The Constitution didn't say you only got 1 year and 3 months, and now you can't be president anymore. And that is why we had an online SGM, the very first special general meeting of LIASA, and we had it online, and we had our first online conference, which was free. Those were all the responses to COVID, which weren't unusual in the world. Many organizations were doing this, but for us, it was particularly poignant because we knew that some of our members who wanted to be part of LIASA were restricted in terms of being able to join us because they didn't have the infrastructure, they didn't have the connectivity and all of those things, and we hadn't had a chance to teach them how to use your mobile. We hadn't had much of a chance to negotiate because that term, the supposed last year of my term, you will remember we were completely locked down. We were in the highest level of COVID. But what as I said, we did during that time, the executive and the representative council did, was to sow the seeds for the future. And that is relating to your question about the 25 years. I do not believe that LIASA has served its people well. And I speak generically. Yeah, I think that everybody has tried their best. And I applaud that, and I respect the contribution of every person, whether they be presidents, whether they be branch members, whether they just are paid up members of LIASA. Respect to you. But what I observed as we went on is there's a lack of coherence. Each time we start something new, we don't finish off. That is what we started. That is why I say I laid the foundations for what was the restructure with the help from the presidents before me, discussions, the Sialalela roadshow, all of those things, the many meetings that we had, the ASGMs, the workshops at conference. And yet I'm very interested to see what the outcome is going to be. Are we going to change it just because we want our names up in lights? Or when there's a next session like this, we say, what have you done? And we throw out what is behind us. That is a lesson for us, for young leaders as well. I have tried to build on what I admired in Secha's term of office and incorporated, especially the charter. I speak up to today about the transformation charter. I saw how the challenges that Secha had at Enkles. And as you all know, I am a vocal I speak vocally about how Enkles has let us down from Mandela's term and what we dealt with during Mandela's term, supported AFLIA and so on, so that there's a coherence, that commitment, that collaboration that I spoke about in my presidential theme is there. And the last thing, Tebogo, because I know you're probably worried about time, I want to round off by saying communication. Yeah, during COVID, for a time, I put out a weekly newsletter or a regular newsletter just to stay in touch with the colleagues. And one of the things that I really missed, and I think that COVID has impacted on us, is the communication with our executive, with understanding where they are, what they're doing. I know that they're working hard. I have no doubt in my mind that they are working hard. I have no doubt in my mind that this is an incredibly difficult time. And the reason I know that is because we also went through a COVID term, and people's mental health globally has reduced by 25%. You have our support, but what I learned during my term is we need to tell people what we're doing, because if we don't tell them, then how can they help us help them?
Right.
Thank you, Tebogo.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. In 2 minutes each, colleague, I'll start with you, Ausis Hameti. What is your thought with regard to the way forward of LIASA, the future of LIASA, in 2 minutes?
I would like to see.
Remember, as we are undergoing restructuring, we must not forget that part.
As we are undergoing restructuring, I would like to see us getting that structure. If you remember very well, the departure of our LIASA manager, Anna Marie, from the office, nearly threw us under the sea. So when we are having a new structure, knowing that we have the appointed portfolios and we are having the volume, because volunteerism is no longer flying. So when we are having all this, our new professionals are not volunteering enough, because the leaders are not allowing them. They say, no, you are not working for us. You cannot go for, even for one day, they struggle to get time off. So we need to have our new structure.
Nikki?
Uti, I have 2 points.
Yes.
Life, as we all know, life is not about black and white. Life is about shades from one extreme to the other extreme. What I want to highlight is knowing that there are shades in between, but I want to just highlight the knot and the where we go from here. The knot is stop the cronyism in LIASA. They are, even though 25, 26 years later, whatever, they are still cronies. If I need something, I speak to Tipsa, I speak to Seha, I speak to that person, I speak to that person. I do not take into account the value that other people have brought to LIASA. So we need to open our minds, right, to the value of people. My second point is a positive one. My second, my middle point is business principles. Even though we are librarians, we are just as good as any organization, and the kingful principles of good governance, legitimacy, credibility, and accountability must become evident. We must touch it. Ne? And lastly, but never least, every person that has ever helped LIASA must be acknowledged, if not in the way that, if not by name, but through the way we conduct ourselves, so that we honor the contributions that started back in the day with LIASA and, sailors and all of those things. What our predecessors envisaged, their vision. We must make that vision alive. That is our legacy, and the legacy that we inherited, the legacy that we must pass on to our young people.
Okay, my brother Hugo, do us the last portion of this program. Thank you very much, Nikki. Thank you very much, Hameti, and men Rachel and Naomi in absence. Over to you, Hugo.
Good day, everyone.
Hi, my brother. How are you?
I'm very well. I can complain.
I'm good.
Yes.
Hit us.
Well, I could actually say there's nothing more to hit, because from the beginning right all the way to now, I mean, there's been a whole lot of unpacking. I would say, okay, let me just, I'm currently sitting on the ongoing protocol. So all protocol duly observed. And Ugo Okoli, the Northwest PRO, the outgoing Northwest PRO. So I would just like to thank our powerful and wonderful ladies who have been here with us, and the people, the attendees who have been here staying on this long. I can't appreciate Memolawa enough. Mev Nikki, Mev Naomi, and Mev Rachel, despite some of them came in and dropped off. I mean, it shows how dedicated they are to the work that they do in our field. And I would say if we could look into this, because to me, I could say this is basically like a master class. Because I had learned a whole lot when it comes to leadership. Yes. Because now it speaks to you being there, you having that enthusiasm, you want to be there to help, you want to volunteer. Then from there, from volunteering, you keep learning. Because some people think everything is about, no, if I get involved, I have to be paid. No, now we've heard their stories. That's what I'm saying. I think we must create a master class, probably sometime before the year ends or sometime early next year, so that we do it like a national thing, so that other librarians could learn from this. Because at some point, now we now know the history of how it went down and how they climbed bit by bit and they got to the top. It's not something that just happened. I've watched most of them climb and I've seen how they put in all the work they put in. And it shows how, it shows how powerful and beautiful God created women. It's not just, but let me just, it's their month, so let me stick to them. So the men, please. So it shows how powerful they are. And behind our existence, there is a woman. And as you said, as they say, as the quote says that behind every successful man, there is a woman. At some point, it works. It's neither their partner or their mother. So one way or the other, a woman is involved. Even if the wife is not there, the mother is somewhere praying for their children to survive. So that's saying to me in a way still stands. And but somewhere in our societies, women are still underestimated and believed to be weaker than men, although we exist as men because we're given birth by women. So making life is not an easy task. And women are blessed with this graceful power of creating life. So there are many examples of women achieving heights in every professional area. We could see from where these wonderful mothers came from and how they incubated, they bore LIASA, and how they stood by it. Despite them being past president, they are still standing as the structures. They are still there to support, even given their time, despite their busy schedules, because most of them are the top notch of the library field in the company in the country, but they still stand strong. They are still there to support LIAS. We still give it to them. I know there's a whole lot of men there, but we could see in the profession, they are like they mother us. That's what I could say. They are our mothers. They carry us along in everything they do. So this is a high time where we should recognize the power of women and help them prove the world that they can do anything they want to do. So I would just like to thank them in everything they have done so far and what they are still doing and what they will do in future. So I want to thank everybody who attended despite the time and all that. But I would say I've learned a lot. I've got a note in terms of management here, which I'm looking at, and I'll still use that in my organization and in the profession at large. And I would like to say, maybe we could look at the management masterclass in LIAS. I think we could just do that, even if it's just for a fee or something. Maybe you can do it if you want to do it for free or some, but I think it would really help. It's something I've learned a lot. I've been sitting here listening to everybody, listening to the answers, the responses. It still boils down to the enthusiasm. So I thank these beautiful, wonderful women. And as we wrap up the Women's Month, it's not just the month, but it's something that's still carrying on. So I just want to thank you all. And I thank you, wonderful mothers, for being here with us today, despite your busy schedule. And thank all the attendees, despite your schedule, you decided to stay on. I believe this is quite engaging. That's why we all had to stay back. But I just want to thank you all for this. And thank you very much for honoring our invitation. Thank you, and I'll still hand over to Date Teboho. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my brother Yuko. In closing, our time is over. I thank the chairperson, Mr. Martin Nokwane, for affording us this opportunity to hand over the flowers to our leaders, to our female leaders, whilst they are still alive, not through throwing their flowers over their graves. I appreciate what you have done, Chairperson. Really, I think that in future will amplify this type of activity to ensure that we appreciate people while they are still alive. We don't wait for them to pass and then we start to shower them with flowers that they'll never taste this or that they'll never smell them in life. So now, having said that, let me take this opportunity to thank everybody. We are over our time in 2 minutes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the National Office for coordinating this. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye. Thanks a lot.